All right.
Okay, got it. Peace.
What's up, party people? It's Dan, your basement guitar superstar. This is another episode of Creator Hangout, and I am with two of my absolute favorites. And guys, I am so flattered that you agreed to join me for this. I am with Baxter and Jonathan from Casino Guitars. So please join me in welcoming them to the channel.
I've never been to clap for.
I know, right?
That was crazy. Man, Dan, thanks for having us come in, man. It's fun.
We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. So I know got a ton of questions for you guys. I know you've done a video about what your guys' first pedal was, right? And Baxter, obviously yours was the TS9. Jonathan, yours was like a Zoom or something, sounded like.
That was right. That's it.
I'm more confused that you know these things about us.
Well, no, I watch all your videos. That's why. You guys are one of my favorite channels.
That's funny. Thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I have not seen a video where you guys talked about your first guitar or how you guys got started playing initially. So tell me about that.
Why don't you go first?
So mine was really random. I had a friend in high school. I was late to the game. You know, I wasn't.
We're late to the game.
I was kind of late to the game.
High school.
I was almost 17. And in high school, a friend of mine worked at a local guitar shop in Rockingham. And he was always on about it, to an annoying point, for being honest, like, come to the guitar shop. Guitars are cool, blah, 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 blah. So I finally come one Saturday just to make him leave me alone. I had just started working at Piggly Wiggly in Hamlin, North Carolina. So I had like $300 in my pocket, right? With no plans to do anything. But I walk into the guitar store. Something about it was just mesmerizing to me. And I bought a black and white Fender Squire Stratocaster for every dime that I had in my pocket. My mom kind of freaked out. She's like, why did you blow all that money?
You spent $100.
But I was instantly hooked. I was just, that was it. That was how I started. That was my first guitar. And then there you go.
So you could say your mom actually saw the bad writing on the wall.
She did. She did.
She set down this path.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a good story. There you go.
That is awesome. What about you, Baxter?
I wasn't sure if we cared about mine anymore.
No,
I was still interested. I was thinking about him at Piggly Wiggly.
A lot of fun stories about the Piggly.
No, I'll be quick. No, I started off playing cello, and then my dad always noticed I was picking out like R&B riffs on the cello instead of actually playing the cello. Like I was like Benny King, anything like Motown.
That's right.
He's like, guys, you should get a bass. And then my grandmother, though, this was in second grade, she got me like Sears and Roebuck's guitar, probably $20, and I had it pretty much until a couple of years ago. I let one of my students borrow it, and they just disappeared with it. So my first guitar is probably in a dumpster somewhere. It's the cheapest guitar I have, but it's the guitar I wish I had the most of all my guitars that have disappeared.
So, Jonathan, do you still have that Squire?
I sold it to my friend James Kroom while I was still in high school. Not shortly after that, because so when I left the Piggly Wiggly, which was a big scandal, not really, a guy I met at church, my grandparents' church, gave me a job at a Quick Lube changing oil because he was a guitar player.
So many jokes there.
So I know. So he let me come work for him, and then we would jam in the break room in between cars coming in. And he let me have, it's such a cool dude. His name is Bob Chavis, but he let me have, do you remember it was called The Paul by Gibson?
Yeah.
It looked like it was like a Les Paul shape, but it was thin. It had those dirty fingers, humbuckers. Yeah. So when he let me take that thing, I thought I was Jimmy Page. I thought it was like
change your life,
the greatest day. You know what I mean? So, and eventually he did. He let me have it. But yeah, so then I sold the Squire to my friend James. I don't know. Who probably maybe still has it. I should ask James.
I highly doubt that.
No, if you knew James,
nice
yeah, no. I think he might.
Nice. So what's your guys' favorite guitars you own currently then?
I don't know, man. You go first.
See,
that's tricky.
I don't have a ton of guitars. You know, we talked about this in the channel before. Like, I wise.
I'm at 17 myself, Baxter, so I don't blame you.
But you know, so like I was like, I want a few amazing guitars that I can keep, and then I'll build on that. So I love my 335. I love my custom shop Telly. I love my custom shop Strat. And I just go through phases. I don't really know. It's hard to pick a favorite of those. The Telly is probably the most like I'm at home. Like I just feel comfortable on a Telly, but it'd be tricky to pick any of them to get rid of.
That is tricky. And like I go through a few of the guitars I own, and it's just whatever I'm playing is kind of my favorite at that time. But I do have a couple that I love this Echo Park prototype Clarence that I have that I play with a lot. I don't even know if it's technically my guitar. I just like to play with it a lot. And just like Gabriel likes just let me use it for a bit. I'm like, I'm not giving this back.
Yeah.
And then I had this one Fender custom shop where they did a mess up on where they did this sort of back neck paint, and it's gorgeous. And we're thinking about prototyping that for a line for us. And I just love playing that guitar.
I will say this about Baxter. He maybe more than any guitar player I know, he is so not picky. He would just play anything, and he's annoyingly good on anything he plays. Like it's kind of frustrating, kind of pisses you off. You're like, I hate you. But anyways, so if he falls in love with it, like if something comes to the shop that he just can't put down, you know it's a pretty amazing guitar because he is ridiculously not picky for a guitar player.
I don't know if that's a compliment or
it was sort of a compliment. It was like a backhanded.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it was kind of that type of compliment, I think.
No, I says like you're not unattractive. I'm like, that's nice. That's a good thing to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's awesome. Let's talk about the channel for a little bit, because one of the things I love about you guys, the dynamics between the two of you are awesome. Like every video, there's a moment where I'm laughing hysterically with you guys, and you just make these like one-liner, one-off comments that are awesome. But you guys do a really good job of approaching different topics where, like, if I tried to do the same thing, people would be triggered by it, right? And so I guess my question for you is, how do you guys come up with content for the channel? Because it seems like you're putting out stuff 3 or 4 times, 5 times a week sometimes.
5 or 7 times. It's a lot.
Yeah, we've been trying to up it, actually.
And we're launching a podcast now, too. Right. But, when you've been married as long as Jonathan and I have together, these things just come naturally.
That's true.
No, but we do. We have production meetings pretty much every morning.
Right.
We get in the shop, we're all here by 8 o'clock range. And then we're going to talk for at least an hour about what's sort of exciting us. And then the thing you said about triggers, like we hate politics. We hate the idea that people want to get angry and upset about anything in the guitar community. We find it absurd, almost like, I hate Strats. I hate Les Pauls. Right. I hate Paul Reed Smith. It's just like, it's a guitar. And
just differences of opinion. Like we could have differences of opinion and still be cool, still be civil, still.
Yeah, because we were laughing about like we disagree on certain things.
Sure.
And Derek, who's behind the cameras all the time, disagrees with like Jonathan on 98% of the things. But we're all still best friends, and like that's the core that kind of keeps it going and civil. And like we've talked about controversial things before, I guess, and we have a civility towards each other where we might not agree with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's how people used to be in this country, and we think they can still do that. And we try to give them that one little glimmer of happiness on if they want to come hang out with us on YouTube for a little bit. Like we might talk about some sort of issues that are controversial, but we can talk about them like grown-ups.
And I think we overwhelmingly try to be positive. Maybe not, it doesn't always maybe come across that way, but that's our goal, is to be positive about things. Like Baxter said, we really are just sitting around talking because we're all friends. It's odd that we do this and get paid sometimes because we literally come in the mornings, we talk about stuff, and then when we sort of get going on something, a lot of times we'll pause right there and go shoot the video because that's where we're, it's fresh.
Yeah, we're sort of like we're taking notes as we talk about it. Well, I'm the secretary.
That's just the note taker. Yeah.
And then because everything's unscripted, but we have like a flow to what we're doing usually.
Yeah.
And that's the attempt. Don't mind if you hear guitars in the background. We're in a guitar shop, so that happens.
No, that's totally fine. Don't mind if you hear dogs or kids in the background with me. My kids have a teacher in service day today, so.
I'm hoping you were saying because I'm a serial killer.
We're just tied up. It's no big deal.
That's hilarious. Now, do you guys name your guitars at all?
A couple of them I do. Like the blue one back there is named Daphne. The pink one's named Maggie. The Daphne one's just after Daphne Blue. The pink one's Maggie after my pink unicorn stuffed animal. And then I have a Nessie, which is a green one. It's a long story, but
It is a long story. A long, strange story.
Let's talk about serial killers.
So speaking of, you guys watch Dexter? No.
I'm like Dexter, but in a guitar shop.
So you got a few that are named,
but not. I don't really name them much. But maybe I don't. Do you name your guitars?
Dude, every single one of my I'm a giant weirdo, but like every single one of my guitars has a name.
So I would say because he's already a serial killer. He names guitars, so the weirdo levels are ramping up fast. What about you, Jay?
I've never been a namer, but I always felt like they were people. But I'd be like, because I've never had like 30 guitars, so it's always been like, the Telly, the Strat. Like in my brain, it was a person. But
see, I can answer this because I think you and I have a lot more similar than he. Because Jonathan was cool in high school, and maybe you weren't, because I definitely wasn't.
No, I was not.
No, I'm thinking. So you and I are probably the same. But this guy was like, he didn't have to have imaginary friends. I did. And the Maggie Nessie.
There could be something to that. Yeah.
And I'm going to have Vincent Mentries, the Fender Custom Shop, is eventually going to do a Maggie Nessie painted guitar for me. It's going to cost way too much money, but I have to do it. It's part of my life's mission.
I just hope I'm still alive.
It's going to be like a $15,000 stuffed animal painted guitar. God bless.
Are they going to have weapons?
No.
They got to have weapons.
Oh, yeah, on the back, maybe the guns.
Yeah.
Guns.
Yeah, they should have guns. That'd be awesome.
It's a mythos. We'll get into it on another video.
It's so odd. It's so
I have a whole life plan with this.
But it's great. Yeah.
That's Speaking of custom shop, what's the most interesting build you guys have had somebody order through you? Has anybody done like a Marauder, a Tornado, or a 12 or any of that yet?
No, we're friends with Carlos over at the custom shop. We love him. I was on the phone with him a bunch this weekend, and he builds the coolest, wackiest stuff. I love the Marauder. I think that's like, we wanted to get one of those too, and we still might do stuff like that. But we've had some really unique guitars, but they're all in Stratotellis, but very unique. I'm working on 2 right now. One for Gentleman I'm super excited about. Will be it's a guitar, but it's going to be like, it's green. It sounds uninteresting, but the whole idea of it, just every metal is going to be mix matched, and it's going to look almost like the ultimate pawn shop guitar. It references back to his grandfather and his tractors, and we're doing the John Deere green. And then I have another one built out of this artisan wood that's going to be an F-hole Stratocaster with 3 P90s.
That one is going to be cool.
And I have some with crazy wiring schematics, because that's the fun of the custom shop, is you can kind of go and do whatever you want. I had one guy working on something like a biblical scene for each fret. The inlays were going to cost more than the entire guitar, by like double. It's because that'd be something Ron Thorne would have to do, and it would take forever. Yeah. Yeah. So we're still working on that one, but that's the fun thing when we build these. Like we work with the customer for a long time, and it's fun to come up with these things and like let your dream become a reality, and let you know what is really possible, and pretty much everything is.
I've got a couple customers that, I was looking back, we've got, 50, 60 emails back and forth going through some of these guitars. Like I've got a guy for one guitar, sometimes months before, or maybe sometimes even like submitting it to the custom shop, getting it back, talking to the customer again, figuring out like what their feedback is. Like I have a guy right now who's building one. He wanted this custom color, and the whole thing is sort of like cherry blossom themed, the pink one. And it's got, it's going to have these cherry blossoms at the 12th fret and maybe on the headstock. And, they're so personal and they're really cool. And I have one guy who's doing like the ultimate, shred sort of, it's not an Ingve thing. He's not doing scallop frets, but man, the wiring and the pickups.
No, we've heard heard other guys like order from other shops, custom shops, and there's some great shops. But sometimes they're a little disappointed, and underwhelmed, because they'll say, "Hey, I want to do this," and they're like, "All right, cool. Here's your mash builder we're assigning you, or here's this," and it'll be ready in X. It's not a back and forth. And I insist on everybody, almost everybody that will do it. I want a phone call with you, just so I can figure out how the guitar is going to be best built to fit what you really want. Because we're not building the guitar for us. They're not building it for the guys at the custom shop. They're building it for you.
Yeah.
And it's fun too.
It is fun.
It's fun, like getting that. Yeah. That's the best part of our gig.
That's a big thing to me, man, because my like crazy anxiety, fear in my brain is always that somebody specs out a guitar and they get it and it's not what they want. Right. Like I really want them to have, like when they open that case and it's the thing they spec'd out, it should be like jaw dropping, amazing. Like, this is my guitar, right? So we probably almost go too OCD overboard sometimes.
Yeah, when you do a custom shop, I mean, I know it sounds lame, but any custom shop is an heirloom piece, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
You're investing a lot of dollars. There's crafts people working on it, and it's your life going into that. Yeah. I'm into spending the time. Anyway, long answer for sure.
How many of those orders do you guys get per year? Because that seems like, at least on some of the channels I watch, especially like you guys do it, Empire Music up in Pittsburgh does a lot of custom shop stuff. There's a couple places around here in Iowa where I'm from that do it. And it seems like they're getting a fairly good amount of orders per year, like 20 to 30
hundreds. It's like hundreds of orders.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's it's not like Wildwood level where it's like thousands of orders, right. I think. And like but it's beyond what we ever thought it could be. So we dedicate a large part of our day to really going through these builds and making sure we're doing it right and staying on top of this. It's quite a feat.
Are you finding it's more like professional musicians that are like touring, or is it just people that want a cool guitar that have the money to spend?
I'd say it's like people that are like, professionals, top in their field a lot, whatever field it is, from music to finance to medicine, to any type of business, to anything, to teachers. It's like one we're building right now is for like a professor at a school up north. I'm so excited. It's a Ron Thorne build too. But no, it's to professional musicians. It's the entire gambit. And we try, our philosophy here is we treat every build or every sale, even from a Squire to a master build, top of the line, and a custom shop, is almost the same. Because to us, if you're spending $200, that might be the most money you've ever had in your life. Sure, to spend on a luxury item, but we have a lot, so it's the gamut's everywhere though. As far as who's buying these things. I
mean, I've got a couple. I think I have two different customers who, one's graduating with a master's, one's a PhD, and the custom shops are sort of like they're you know what I mean, like they're ordering them now, so that in 4 years or whenever they're ready, that's when they will have finished. So that's like their goal at the end, their prize at the end, I guess. So
definitely,
I think it's cool.
Dolphin trainers in Florida, so like Israeli secret agents. No, not kidding. To people in to Brunei. Like, I have a guitar for a gentleman in Brunei. I didn't know what Brunei was. I had to look this up. It's one of the few remaining fascist monarchies left or something in the world. It's some weird, not a super great place to live, but it seems beautiful. Besides that, it's a trade off. It's like tropic thunder. Yeah. No, that's cool. It's people. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Yeah, it's neat.
Nice. So what's the most rad piece of gear you guys have had in the shop?
I mean, that's 64 Bootlegger's Flame was really
that was super cool.
That one Strat, that was it was a Fender Stratocaster 64, and we call it Bootlegger's Flame because the story behind it was it used to be a bootlegger that became a man of God in the cloth, and he gave it to his son and had this huge flame neck on it, and
which is really odd. Just to randomly create, you would have thought it was AAA flame ordered from the custom shop on this 64 Strat.
You just don't see that very often because we've seen a lot of 60 Strats, and that was, it had no frets to speak of. But
it was not the most fun to play, but the pickup sounded amazing.
I mean, that's a tough question though, because there's every day some cool piece of gear might just walk through the door. Either stuff we've ordered from the custom shop or the private stock, or we get a whole lot of Gibsons in, and we just don't know. It's just,
I mean, there's been a couple of Vincent guitars.
His suck. He's so good.
What a loser! They're so good.
His neck, but there's some that it's just there's cool stuff. If it's an old amp, it'll probably end up back here in the studio.
Yeah, we're kind of suckers for.
I'm a sucker for old amps.
I am too.
So
we bought two 67 Super Reverb and a 66 Bassman the other day with a piggyback, and he came in, got a good price. We were all happy.
And they're right over there to my left.
Stage left.
Yes.
Audience right.
Right.
Nice. Awesome. So let's go back to the first pedal video, because I see this debate all the time on the guitar forums on Facebook. Do you guys think there's I mean, obviously there is, but can you guys tell the difference between the TS9 and the TS808? Because I can't.
I can tell a little bit of something.
I mean, to me, it's such a small difference if there is one. Do you know what I mean? And yeah,
I just like let me grab these two that are back here real quick.
I'm also not like, I don't love to, you know what I mean? Tube screamers have their place.
You don't love tube screamers?
Favorite pedal.
Like
I know. It's crazy.
What do I got here? I can't read them right now. But
So you got a TS10 and TS9. Yeah.
I mean, these two guys right.
Yeah, of course. I'm probably blasphemous too because I think clones are overrated.
So see, I
think almost all pedals can be overrated in some ways. I think I paid $40 for these back in the day. You know, like these are mine from like high school and stuff. And it's like, you know, and this one kind of works sometimes it doesn't. I think this one sounds better than this one, even though this one's probably worth more.
Right.
It's also in a metal chassis, so I like that better.
Yeah.
And it says my name on it on some gaffer's tape there, so I think that makes me happy.
We probably tried to sell it. That's mine. This is mine. You'll sell it.
Not Sean did that because everybody just grabs my stuff. So maybe Larry's right about having that amp hidden. Never mind. I should put that in my house. We got like an old 61. What is that? A Vibrolux back there? That's not ours.
Yeah.
It's a sweet amp. But I don't know. We did another video on pedals, like when I did like the Klon versus the King of Tone versus the KTR.
Right.
And like they were all great pedals, but I just couldn't see like the Klon was not sonically superior.
Like thousands of dollars superior.
To like, if I could have one, yeah, it's awesome. But I just don't want to spend $4,000 on one right now.
Right. I mean, for the streamer thing either, I haven't sat down with both and tried to, you know what I mean, make exact settings. So maybe if we did that, we would hear the difference. But
that was a funny thing when we did that one video with the Klon and everything. We didn't show it, but like afterwards, I went and I played a tube screamer, and I was like, I think this wins. You know, so I was like, maybe the tube screamer beats the King of Tone and the KTR and the Klon, maybe. But it was but it's my opinion too. It doesn't matter.
Totally. Well, my favorite tube I've ever had is the Earthquaker.
That thing's amazing.
Because it's like all of them, right? And you know what I mean? I set it and I was like, oh, this is amazing. That was like my whole drive section for a while, you know, because it was like 3 gain stages, a boost.
What's like vintage gear? It's like the custom shop usually 99% of the time is better than a vintage piece that I played.
Yeah.
But there's something magical and mojo about the vintage, or maybe there's something magical and mojo about this old piece of metal and plastic.
It's just fun. It's how it makes you feel, right? If you feel like that, you probably play better. You get it in your head, you know.
At least in theory.
Right. You know, feel like you're playing better. I don't know.
Let me ask you, speaking of actual theory, there gets to be a point with every guitarist where you kind of start feeling stuck in your playing, right? Like maybe you're stagnating or something. What's something either like a lick or a technique or like a practice method or a piece of advice you guys got that kind of helped you get over one of those plateau periods?
Gosh, I mean, I'm always like when I have spare time, which is not very often, I always try to learn something new on the guitar. Like still, I'm an old man. I'm in my 40s, so I'm a grown up. So it's still like I went through Joe Bonamassa stage where I was like trying to learn all of his licks and Dorian and like all of them, and I got close. Then I realized he's just way better than I'll ever be. But then I didn't do some fingerprint. I have a few exercises I create for myself to get me out of ruts too, that sort of expand and force me to play faster, smoother. I don't know. It's just always being open to learning and realizing that I'm never going to be done. That's just kind of how I approach it.
I think there's something to that. Just trying new techniques for things that maybe you don't typically listen to. But probably the last big thing for me like that was I just really, 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 really got into triads, you know, how you would play triads, thinking about things that way and trying to see them when I'm just playing scales instead of noodling through scales, trying to see the triads over them so that I know where I am to go back and forth between chords and leady things.
Have you guys done videos on those? Because both of those sound like they would help me out immensely.
I mean, we're talking about maybe sort of launching a sub channel that gets into that more. It wouldn't really make sense on our channel right now. It'd just be confusing.
I have them on my channel. Like if you find just the Jonathan Robinson channel, yeah, there's a bunch of well, there's a handful of lesson videos on that thing.
3.
5 or 6, half a dozen.
3.
Half a dozen.
I don't ever watch his channel though, so I wouldn't know. I mean, that'd be a nightmare. I actually watched the rehearsal tape you guys did the other day. That was really good. You shot that.
Sean.
Look, Sean, good job. He's not in here, but just I was like, it was cool to watch. You guys, that was a great room.
He had the little thing, the gimbal where the phone goes. That's why it looks so smooth. Yeah.
Darn you and your fancy gimbal.
I know. Tricks. There you go. tips and tricks.
Nice. So, I'm trying to think. Oh, obviously, Jonathan, you're still playing out and touring a little bit and doing new records and stuff. Do you guys have any collab stuff you've done musically?
No, we've messed around a little bit here, but that's something we're sort of toying with the idea of down the road, just sort of like a casino weekend where we kind of can do some fun things. And we have a few shows we're going to maybe do that are in the future. But not too far in the future. So it takes a lot more time than a lot of people think to make the guitar shop keep going.
I know. Between that and then I play, and then we both have young kids and families.
Oh, don't remind me.
I know. So that gets tricky. We probably, when we do get to play together, it is a lot of fun, but it's probably less than most people imagine.
No, I mean, the amount of time we have hands on guitars in here is very minimal.
Right.
It's like, it's to do product demos and then just to make sure they work.
Yeah.
So like when you're like setting guitars up and things, but in general, we're on the phone and the internet most of the day.
Right. So who's your guys' biggest influence on guitar, or like your top 3 or something?
I think Jonathan, or you're my.
I mean, it could be. No. You go first.
I mean, it's because it's morphed so much over the years, but in the beginning, my formative years, it was like the holy trinity of like Clapton, Hendrix, and Page, and then Stevie Ray Vaughan came in there, and but then I love, this is a weird one, I love the Jackson 5 as a kid. And so my first CD I ever bought myself was a Jackson 5 CD, and I learned all my music, anything I was playing, I learned it while I was dancing. And so I thought that's what everybody had to do. So I saw videos of Jackson 5. And, I love that funk, the R&B, but I love those guys. I love all the modern players now today too, though, all over the place. So what about you, Jay?
Man, mine is hard to pick 3 because mine changed so much over the years too. But initially it was Clapton. Like Clapton was God. Clapton was, and then like I told you that first guitar was a black and white Strat. I didn't know anything about Clapton when I bought that. And then when I realized like, oh, Clapton plays a black Strat, and it just mind blown. So it was Clapton, Hendrix, Joe Walsh was a big one for me early on. And then it was like Skinner, and like I love Dwayne Allman, but in the beginning the slide thing was beyond me. So
it was too alien.
Right.
I remember I was like, what is that? I don't know what that is. There's no internet. I can't figure it out.
I didn't realize until later when somebody pointed it out to me that Dickie Betts was probably just subconsciously, I heard that style.
Yeah, you do play a lot with Dickie Betts. That's funny.
But it was never a conscious thing. It just,
I never thought of that.
Yeah. So there you go.
Nice.
What about yourself?
Actually, I get a lot of flack for this, but Gavin Rossdale is who inspired me to pick up a guitar.
My wife would love to hear that. She goes and sees Bush every year at like House of Blues in Myrtle Beach.
She is a Bush.
Yeah, when he came to play at Epicenter and he got canceled, we were so sad because like my wife and her friends from Myrtle Beach drove up, and I was on stage with his guitar before he was going to come out. I was taking pictures of his, like literally, I grabbed his guitar and held it. I think he's awesome.
Yeah, was it the purple one he got from Joe Walsh at Jazzmaster with the big?
No, it was the custom shop Strat with the humbucker only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's primarily what he was touring with, I think, at that point. And this was 2 years ago.
Yeah. I'll give you guys my top 5. So Gavin Rossdale's definitely up there. I'm on a huge Foreigner kick right now. So Mick Jones from Foreigner. Mark McMillan. You guys probably don't know that name. He plays in the Story Changes and Hawthorne Heights.
Okay. Oh, funny. I know Hawthorne Heights, though.
His first band, The Story Changes, is actually how he got into Hawthorne Heights. Check them out if you get a chance. And then Jimmy Page and Damon Johnson from Brother Kane.
Okay, cool. You got some weird ones. I like that.
I think that's cool though, right? Because it makes you it's unique when you have sort of more off the beaten path influences. I think so. That's cool, man.
Yeah. But I mean, unlike you guys, I am a very, very average or below average guitar player.
Don't do that. You're silly saying that. That's silly. No false modesty here. We're all amazing. And God's amongst men.
We are all,
right here.
all God's gift to mankind, right?
From that, right?
The
from
lady
that
kind.
Yeah. Woo.
Awesome. One last question. This is more for Baxter.
Oh,
Um, So I read a little bit of your biography on the website. It sounds like you used to play like in orchestra pits in New York and stuff, and then you toured a little bit. Did you?
Yes.
Well, I guess this is kind of for both of you. Have either of you done much session work at all?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of session work in New York as far as that goes. Like, but a lot of it was like commercial work too. Like as far as like, little jingles, and they would just hire you to go in the studio, you play some riffs. It would go off and be in like, then you hear it on a Carnival Cruise Line, like then you play on a riff or a Macy's shoe commercial. So, it was part of like how you made a living, and the Blues Clues records and things like that, and playing like some, like things like all these funny things besides touring and the Broadway stuff or whatever.
Right. And what does that look like? I mean, do you go in and they just hand you a piece of music and say, hey, play this, or do you actually have prep time? Or
yeah, I mean, like the way it worked for me was just so different. Because like I'd say it was a little bit of nepotism. I met one of my sister's old roommates was like, she was the musical director for Sweeney Todd, which had no guitar playing in it. But I went and met her, and then I auditioned for her in her apartment, did a quick little show that I could read score and could read sheet music. And then she's like, yeah, you're good enough and you don't seem like a drug addict. Cool. So she said, got a sub job like on the list. Yeah, that's when the money comes in and the cocaine flowed. They got me into, I knew someone to call, but then you have to have the goods, and then if you'll read score, and then and sometimes it is like you get a little prep time. One of my friends, he was in this band called Carbondale. He ended up being the guitar player for SNL, Saturday Night Live for like 8 years or something probably. I think he just left, but when he got called for the audition for that, and his audition got called through his YouTube channel. Because they saw him like, oh, you're good. Will you come audition for SNL? He came. They gave him the sheet. They said, you have 45 seconds to look at it. Here's what we're going to jam on. You ready to go? And he was like, yeah, let's go. And they played it. And he did the changes, comped it out. And it's high pressure, but that cat was good too. Still is good. But yeah, it's different. It's you just have to. New York just eats you up and spits you out really fast.
Yeah, Nashville is not totally different. But so I did a handful of a lot of people in Nashville would do demo sessions, right? Where like the songwriter is doing the demo to pitch to labels and artists, but they want it to sound like it could be on the radio. And some of these demos are amazing. So I got to do a handful of those and then play on sessions for artists I was playing for. But it's not, there's no real prep time for most of the time in Nashville. Like you literally come in.
Yeah.
There's a work tape maybe. So maybe you can listen to like a guitar vocal or maybe like a really rough sketched out idea, but there's no hooks or licks or solos usually. And then sometimes you'll write the Nashville number chart while you listen to that demo, right? Sometimes whoever's the leader of the session will write it. Sometimes it's there before, but then you have a number chart. You guys look at it for a few seconds. You count it in.
And that's something I would encourage all young guitar players get into. Just like learn the Nashville number system. Yeah. Learn how to do some basic reading. Even if it's like fake book stuff, like your chord comping above like a piano score.
Right.
Just like be able to do that.
Fine, yeah.
Because the odds of you becoming a rock star are very slim. The odds of you like being able to make a living doing music are great.
Yeah.
And you can do it like
there's jobs in there.
I got paid a lot of money to do some of these gigs, and outrageous amounts. It's just because I had a certain skill set.
Right.
And I wasn't a drug addict yet.
That's always a plus, right?
Yeah, it does help. And they fire you in Broadway and all these gigs. Like there's not like a second chance. It's like, okay, cool, you're out. One mess up as far, not mess up on the notes, but if you don't show to the gig, or if you don't.
Oh yeah, no, that's
there's no like, oh, I'm sorry, I was late to work. You can't be late to the show. There's no stand-in for the guitar player usually. It's not like they have an extra actor waiting backstage for you.
Right.
If you don't show, like things, I mean, your call time's well before the show, so they're going to be calling you if you're not there, and hopefully finding a stand-in.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, and we're coming up on time here. We got about 5 minutes left per your request, Baxter. So I got one last question for you guys. I met you guys at NAMM, obviously, and you were super cool, super approachable, and I appreciate that. And I guess, what's the weirdest interaction you guys have ever had at NAMM?
I mean, I don't know if it's ever been that weird. It's just
like, have you ever had some gal ask you to sign her tit or something? Or
Not at NAMM. But it,
fortunately, our wives will never see this, correct? Yeah.
maybe where, gosh, I've had that happen at some, honky tonk.
But I mean, from the
shows,
YouTube thing, though, I don't think there's never been a weird interaction. It's been people like the funniest interactions are when like they don't realize they're like, oh, I've seen your videos, and like it's fun, and it's a fun because it's just we're just dudes that like guitars that talk about guitars all day. It happens to be on YouTube, and we happen to work in I think one of the cooler guitar shops around, and we have fun. And I hear somebody jamming out right in the studio outside of this room, and I can't wait to hear what he's doing.
Right.
No, but there's really been nothing weird. I don't think it's been. We've honestly made friends from people that start off as like just commenting on YouTube, and we hit it off, and like I've literally had people vacation and come here and hang out.
Yeah, I mean it's almost the weird stuff's pretty boring, but it's the stuff that's cooler to me is somebody like a Danish Pete, you know what I mean, messages and says, hey, we like you guys' videos, thanks for mentioning us.
Or like Danish Pete, you can take a hike, jump in the cold river, pal.
Or like I love Corey Cagilio's videos. Do you know what I mean? He and I have chatted some, and we like missed each other at NAMM. He messaged me. He's like, hey, I just saw you, and we're trying to meet up. We got a time thing. So, like those guys to me are like amazing players, sort of YouTube
that is a pretty
famous, right? So that they would care who we are is pretty amazing and mind-blowing to me.
I just want to ride on Greg Koch's shoulders at the end this year.
No, I would like to do
that. Because that man is like 6'6".
Like he'd let you.
I think he should at this point.
Is he pretty ripped? I bet he would. Baxter's skinny. He could probably carry it.
I'm not sure. You're a little heavier than me. I think.
I'm slightly heavier.
But I could get it's because Greg's big. Like he lost a ton of weight over the past 3 years. Like he's just done a great diet. He looks amazing. He dresses all flying, stylish. It's weird. And he's super nice in person. But that's the funny thing is like, because I remember going to our first NAMMs and like, meeting John Cruz and stuff. And you're sort of shy and scared. And like, hello. And now like I literally talk to master builders that are really some of my best friends.
Yeah.
And we talk, we have a phone call. I talked to like 3 this weekend, just like shooting the shit about our families, and it's, I'm like, what are you guys doing for Christmas? And like, I hope that all those walls get broken down.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening with the internet and what you're doing right now too. It's awesome.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And again, I appreciate you guys coming on with me because I only have like 242 subs. So you could have told me to go to hell, but you didn't.
We only have 240 subs at one point too. And that's
not that long ago.
I know. I wish everyone would help each other out. Like it's just it's fun, man. You're a cool dude. And like you're really tall in real life too, aren't you?
No, I'm only 6 foot.
Yeah, but I don't know. You seem really tall to me for some reason. I remember meeting you. I felt you were.
I remember I was shorter than Jonathan, but I think I was slightly taller than you, Baxter.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm taller than you. Then if you're only 6 foot, I just want to feel better about myself. No, but you have a good personality. I remember you had a magnificent you magnated something. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but anyway.
Okay, well I appreciate that.
Your aura you have an aura of height.
Like it.
Nice. Well, hey, you guys have fun. Thank you again, and keep being awesome. I love your channel. And,
thank you.
For those of you watching, this is Baxter and Jonathan from Casino Guitars. I will post a link to their channel and where you can find out about them. Their videos are absolutely hilarious. I look forward to them when I have my coffee in the morning. Sometimes I have to be careful because there's been some videos that have caused me to spit coffee out my nose from laughing.
We do that too often.
There you go.
But, good stuff. Thank you guys. And for those of you watching, remember, it's all about the journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So thank you so much for watching and have fun playing.